All right, we got the education expert, Bridgemon Bolger.
Yeah, man, it's some crazy things going on in education around here.
So we're focusing on a local level at first.
Yeah, Bridgemon, didn't you run for school board or something?
Yes, I did run for school board, and I ran against the chairman of the Dekalb County School Board, Dr. Melvin Johnson. And, you know, I would like to see the school board in DeKalb County take a more aggressive line against the political elite who have adverse interests, you know, and you want to have, you know.
But let's start there. Like, what do you have a problem with for the chairman of the education board in DeKalb County? What is it that
What's
he's
the
doing?
adverse interest? I heard.
Okay,
that
well,
term.
you know, one thing that I was big on the Druid Hills Charter Cluster. You know, I'm a person. I am not for or against charter schools. I believe that they play a partial role in the education of our children. They don't need to place a dominant role. That's not the solution to every underperforming school, because, you know, if you don't have significant parental involvement in an area, it's not a good area for a charter school, because that's a vital component of charters. And what you have in the Druid Hills Charter Cluster area was a situation where you had all the necessary components for a charter. All the pieces were there. You had the community involvement. You had people who were in government pushing for it, and you had a collective sphere of influence of people who wanted to have their say in the way their educational system was going. And but what I will say is, you know, I knew that when it came down to make that charter school vote, if the vote went the wrong way, that area would be looking to annex towards Atlanta. And I think Mayor Kasim Reed has taken this vote as an opportunity to try to annex some of the most intellectually rich property in the southeastern United States of America incorporated into the city of Atlanta. And that leaves economic hole in the DeKalb County school system budget, because the monies that were previously going to educate all the kids in the county would be taken away from away from DeKalb County and go towards APS, Atlanta Public Schools. And what you have in Atlanta Public Schools right now, the mayor, he's all over the place fighting with DeKalb and fighting with his own school board, APS, his own handpicked superintendent, Mariah Champeret. She's been argued as being one of the best superintendents in the country, and she could go anywhere she wants to and find work. Mm-hmm. And we're really privileged to have her working in the Atlanta area. But because the school board and the city are in a dispute over money owed to the school system by way of the Beltline contract. There was some property taken from APS that went to the Beltline. City owes about $18 million. Mayor Kasim Reed wants to renegotiate that $18 million. But what he's doing is he's holding the deeds to properties that APS owns. And because he holds the deeds, APS cannot sell these properties. And the property in question is in Southwest Atlanta, some of the most destitute areas of our city, and we actually have people who want to come in and develop this area, but they're being halted from doing so because the mayor is using the deeds as a bargaining chip to levy against the school system.
Okay, so here's what I don't understand about your position. Mm-hmm. Is if you take Atlanta, the municipal city limits of Atlanta, right, and what's inside of it, it's not a very well-off city. You go outside of Atlanta, especially going out into the north and all these directions, it's very well-off. But inside the city, you have, to the southern part of it, a lot of poverty. And I would say most of the Atlanta schools are not doing very well and generally aren't getting a whole lot of money. Am I correct about that?
I believe that the three most underperforming schools in the state, school systems in the state, are number one, Clayton County is the worst, mm-hmm, APS is the second worst, and DeKalb County is the third worst.
Okay, so ultimately, now the area that we're talking about that Atlanta might annex away from DeKalb County, is in terms of job concentration, it's huge. It is like a core area. It's got tall buildings, Emory University,
CDC,
the headquarters of the CDC. Right. You've got all this development that's going up, all these 5 to 10 story high apartment buildings and everything. It's a very rich, very nice area.
Right.
And they're looking at building some trains, so a train line through there too for mass transit. So it's very well off, and Atlanta wants that to be a part of them. Do you feel like, and a lot of people there want to be a part of Atlanta too. Do you feel like
those
on
people,
some level, I mean,
okay,
it's
that Druid Hills area, they never considered themselves a part of Atlanta historically, and for a long time, you know, they were okay with being a part of Dekalb County until they wanted something. They wanted this charter cluster, and the inspiration for annexation was a direct result of that vote. That one vote made by the school board. And
when was that vote?
That was made in early 2014.
But here's what I don't get is the argument that you seem to be making is that Atlanta is coming in and taking away this nice part of DeKalb County and putting it into their school system and taking away that tax revenue. But it's not like Atlanta's school system is well off either. Like, they need more funding as well.
And that's the argument I present to the charter cluster people. And, you know, it's such a fancy proposal. And it sounds so good to them now, but everything that's written down on paper is not going to get passed through city council. And that agreement that they're looking at, they think they're going to get, you know, because from what I'm hearing now, there's the school board in DeKalb County, they're backpedaling. You got Melvin Johnson and Michael Thurman backpedaling now and going in and talk to these people from that Druid Hills Charter Cluster area and trying to negotiate them. Okay, well, after the fact, maybe if you can have this charter cluster, and the people are saying, well, we don't really want it anymore. It's like they've made their minds up. They want to go to Atlanta because it's been sold to them and sounds so sexy. But once they get into the actuality of, you know, first and foremost, the taxes are going to go up. You know, they don't, you know, that's, you know, but they keep telling them like, oh no, we're trying to keep tax rate the same. That may be true for 2 fiscal cycles, but, you know, once you got a new city council and, you know, those guarantees go away.
But in Atlanta, there already are charter schools in the Atlanta public school system. So
some of the best performing charter schools, right?
So they've already approved that in Atlanta. So I feel like they do have a track record of accepting charter schools in Atlanta, which means that I think they have a good reason around Emory to feel that if they and in Druid Hills that if they became a part of Atlanta, that Atlanta would accept it because they've accepted all these other charter schools.
Okay, well,
so isn't that the right argument?
DeKalb County, you know, for years, they've had, you know, Chamblee was a magnet, then it transitioned to a charter school. You have Arabian Mountain, it's just the #1 school in the state of Georgia for high school. You know, I believe there's like 97% high school graduate and 100% of the graduates go on to college. You know, that's in DeKalb County. So we do have a track record of
But I feel
charters.
like that was a long time ago. Like I don't see recent examples of DeKalb County allowing charter schools to happen.
That's because the way...
And that's why you ran, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, that's not... I got into the race...
For a lot of reasons.
But, you know, when I got into the race, you know, I got into that race wanting to run on reforming school discipline policies and in this, the school-to-prison pipeline. And because of the nature of the politics on the ground at the time, it became a race about charter schools. And, you know, I became... this advocate for I never was this advocate for charter schools before, you know, the political wind shifted that way. And all of a sudden, I disagree with the vote. I wasn't for or I said, hey, you need to vote for this because the loss of that area is going to be way more substantial than if you grant these people this charter. And, you know, the charter initially, the way it was constructed and what they wanted, it could have been modified. They didn't like it. They didn't like it as it goes back to what we said earlier about, you know, the president's budget. You know, there was a proposal set forth, and that proposal was not liked, and there was no negotiation on it. Let's not even negotiate. We're going to throw this away and not grant these people that. And it alienated and angered a large group of people who had been, you know, some of the strongest and most actively involved parents in DeKalb County.
Well, here's one more issue that keeps coming up into my mind, and I keep thinking of North Carolina, where they have a research triangle, which is really just the three really strong universities, and it's created so many jobs and so much economic activity. A lot of the passion and a lot of the ideas in Atlanta in recent years has been to do the same thing in Atlanta, because we've already got Georgia Tech and we've got Georgia State that are both inside the city limits of Atlanta, and then you've got Emory right there.
Right.
And so if they were to be included in the city of Atlanta, then you've got a research triangle right there within the city limits, and you're inside a city at that point that has a really strong track record for economic development, for turning around huge parts of what's inside of the city, including Midtown, including the whole Beltline project.
Right.
And you compare all of that to what's going on in Dekalb County, and I just don't see that in Dekalb County. Even in Atlanta, where we've had mayors that I don't necessarily always agree with, it's not like we have the CEO or mayor of Atlanta being kicked out for corruption charges every 2 or 3 years the way that you do in Dekalb County.
I mean,
I see a lot of economic
prison. I mean, we did have a mayor go to federal
right,
prison.
but that was a long.
Two mayors
How many CEOs?
The mayor before the last.
But that's what I'm at. For Dekalb County, which the leader is called the CEO for Dekalb County. How many of them have gone to jail?
Only one.
Since
none of them.
Well,
none of
okay,
them.
okay,
none of them.
Not gone to jail, but certainly been proven in a pretty significant way that they were corrupt. But Bureau Ellis right now is going through all the charges and everything.
You can say what you want about Vernon Jones, but there's you can't pull up anything.
I really can't.
You can't pull up anything that shows that he did anything unethical.
Vernon Jones. Now Vernon Jones went to jail, didn't he? Because he went and then got out and then ran for office again.
No,
he
never. No, you're thinking of Victor Hill in Clayton County.
All right.
But Vernon Jones has never been indicted.
All right. Well, I think you can see my overall point that I'm making is that in DeKalb County,
because we know
I
from
wouldn't feel
all
so
your
good about
stances on Michael Brown, etc.
That's because there's the media perpetuates this air of corruption around DeKalb. But meanwhile in Gwinnett, you have people on the Gwinnett County Commission who have been found guilty of selectively rigging contracts.
So Bridgemon, it sounds like you know a lot about fucking education and school in DeKalb. So why didn't you win?
Okay, I didn't. I mean, you got to make this about me. I don't want to make this about me, but I didn't. I didn't. Well, first and foremost,
I mean,
the people who I would have done the most benefit for had I been elected did not show up to vote. Secondly, I can't really blame it on the money because the money didn't play an issue, but the other candidate raised substantially more money from interest groups.
You don't think that had much impact though in it?
So, I mean, yeah, he was able to buy more ad time, but I wasn't able to generate as much media coverage, probably more media coverage. My name was in more of the blogs, more of the print media, I was on the news myself.
But he had more ads than you.
I mean, he didn't have any. He had ads in like local papers. Yes, he had more ads in the Crossroads and more. But primarily he won because the black church controls the electorate in a race that small. I'm sorry. All you have to do, he's an older gentleman and he's been in the school system for 40 some odd years. He's served as a deacon in many of the mega churches.
He's gonna do a good job.
I mean, I think that what you have in DeKalb County is a generational disconnect. You look at DeKalb County and where its direction is moving, and APS and the direction it's moving, you have a lot of older people set in their ways, and in APS, what you have is a much younger board with much more progressive ideas, and they're able to get a lot more done politically and socially outside of the public school system. They can reach out to a broader base of people, where this group of people in DeKalb County are consistently going to the churches.
You think that's the difference, primary? Because I was asking earlier, APS, Atlanta versus DeKalb. Mm-hmm. You think that's kind of maybe one of the primary differences is a generational, that young people are usually, not just people, but just a younger generation.
This is a new board. Okay, I would say with APS, a lot of the people were elected within the last 2 years, and DeKalb County, you have a lot of people appointed primarily by Governor Nathan Deal because we had accreditation issues. And all those people, with the exception of one, were reelected. And their mindset from the beginning was in a direction of, if you get the union money if you're anti-charter school, and that doesn't do anything to help the children. I'm not for, like I say, I'm not for or against. I'm for whatever effectively educates the children in DeKalb County and across the metro area.
So that's why you didn't get elected.
Yeah, so we'll have to wrap this up. But I do have one more question before we wrap this up. For the teachers' unions, how powerful do you think that they were in the election you ran? Or in DeKalb County in general?
I mean, the teachers' union, it's not necessarily, it's just union. Teachers' unions align themselves with the rest of the union base, and they get the money, and it goes to the candidates of their choice. My candidate, it says on paper that he did not receive any union money, but the reason why was because we went to the unions and we advocated to them, and they were split down the middle, and they couldn't decide on who they get that money to.
Interesting.
So, like I say, I feel that teachers need every available tool at their hands and access to educate the children, and something that I was advocating for, better technology in our schools. You got children who know how to use smartphones and tablets, and you continuously waste money on books that are getting lost and stolen, and nobody keeps track of. Nobody wants to read because they're disinterested. But if you take the education to a platform that they're already on, such as a smartphone or a tablet, and it was actually a reduced cost. But everybody looked at me like I was crazy when I said this, when some of the top schools in the country are doing just that, eliminating paperback books and going to tablets because it's more cost effective. You can buy a tablet nowadays for $100. You buy them on mass school system, probably getting tablets $30-$50 a piece, as opposed to buying, high school. How many books we have? Like 6 different textbooks.
Yeah, man.
And you can reduce all that. It's better for the environment.
It's better for kids' backs.
It's better for kids' backs. Remember, you had the scoliosis test. You had to go to school. So a generation of children's backs were messed up because I did it because when I was running for office, I said the average child, if you have a homework in 4 subjects, that's 40 pounds, 50 pounds of books on your back every day. So
builds character.
All right. Well, tapping out.